By day, she answered phones and filed paperwork in a cramped office at Peterson Air Force Base. By night, she was the Pentagon's most valuable cyber weapon. Enemy radar operators called her the Ghost Maker because fighter jets would simply vanish from their screens. But they had no idea the woman destroying their systems was sitting in a secretary's chair, typing up meeting notes. Office 3B at Peterson Air Force Base looked exactly like every other administrative office in the military. Gray metal desk, outdated computer, stacks of paperwork, and a coffee maker that hadn't worked properly in years. Behind this desk sat Jessica Carter, a 31-year-old secretary who had been working for General Marcus Webb for 4 years. Jessica appeared to be the epitome of military administrative efficiency. She arrived at 7:30 a.m. every morning, perfectly dressed in conservative business attire. Her desk was always organized, her reports were always accurate, and she never missed a deadline. General Webb considered her the best secretary he'd ever had. But what General Webb didn't know was that his quiet, efficient secretary was living the most dangerous double life in modern cyber warfare. Jessica Carter wasn't really a secretary. She was a cyber warfare specialist with a PhD in computer science from Stanford and a classified background in military intelligence. Her real job wasn't filing paperwork. It was infiltrating enemy radar systems and making American aircraft invisible to detection. Every evening at 5:30 p.m., Jessica would power down her work computer, tidy her desk, and say goodnight to General Webb. Then she would drive home to her modest apartment in Colorado Springs, order takeout from the same Chinese restaurant, and settle in for a night of the most sophisticated cyber warfare operations in military history. But Jessica's apartment wasn't what it appeared to be. Behind the ordinary living room furniture and kitchen appliances was a hidden room that contained millions of dollars worth of computer equipment. Multiple servers, quantum processors, and communication arrays that could penetrate the most secure military networks in the world. This wasn't Jessica's first assignment. For the past 8 years, she had been operating under deep cover in various military installations, using administrative positions to access classified networks and conduct cyber operations against enemy forces. Which city in the world are you watching this video from today? Please subscribe and support us for more stories. Her previous assignment had been as a logistics coordinator at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, where she had spent 3 years infiltrating Russian missile defense systems. Before that, she had worked as a personnel clerk at Yokota Air Base in Japan, conducting cyber operations against North Korean radar networks. But Peterson Air Force Base was her most important assignment yet. From this location, she could access communication satellites that provided direct links to enemy radar installations across 3 continents. Jessica's mission was simple in concept, but incredibly complex in execution. She needed to identify and infiltrate enemy radar systems, then disable them at precisely the right moments to allow American aircraft to complete critical missions undetected. The first challenge was identifying the radar systems. Jessica spent weeks monitoring enemy communications, analyzing satellite imagery, and tracking the movement of radar equipment across combat zones. She created detailed maps of enemy air defense networks, identifying the location and capabilities of every radar installation from Syria to Afghanistan. The second challenge was penetration. Modern military radar systems are designed to be isolated from external networks to prevent exactly the type of attack that Jessica was planning. But Jessica had discovered something that enemy engineers had overlooked. Every radar system requires regular software updates and maintenance diagnostics. These updates are transmitted via satellite links that, while encrypted, still provide a pathway into the system. Jessica had developed techniques for intercepting these update transmissions and inserting her own code into the data stream. Her first successful operation occurred on September 12, 2020. Intelligence had identified a high-value target in Syria, a weapons facility that was producing chemical weapons for terrorist organizations. The facility was protected by an advanced Russian radar system that could detect stealth aircraft at ranges exceeding 200 miles. A coalition strike team needed to destroy the facility, but approaching undetected was considered impossible. The radar system was too sophisticated and too well-positioned to avoid. That's when Jessica went to work. She spent 2 weeks studying the radar system, analyzing its communication patterns and identifying vulnerabilities in its software. She discovered that the system performed automated maintenance checks every 6 hours, during which it briefly connected to a satellite uplink to download diagnostic data. On the night of the mission, Jessica positioned herself at her computer array and waited for the radar system's maintenance window. At exactly 2:17 a.m. Syrian time, the radar system initiated its diagnostic sequence. In the 90 seconds that the system was connected to the satellite uplink, Jessica inserted malicious code that would cause the radar to display false readings. The code was designed to activate during specific time windows and make aircraft appear to be commercial airliners flying at different altitudes and locations. 6 hours later, when the coalition's strike team approached the weapons facility, the radar operators saw what appeared to be a routine commercial flight passing through their airspace at 35,000 feet. They had no idea that 4 F-22 Raptors were actually approaching their position at low altitude. The weapons facility was destroyed with surgical precision. The radar operators never detected the attack aircraft, and the mission was completed without any coalition casualties. But Jessica's work was just beginning. Over the next 18 months, Jessica conducted 47 successful cyber operations against enemy radar systems. Each operation was carefully planned and precisely executed. Fighter jets, bombers, and reconnaissance aircraft completed impossible missions because enemy radar operators couldn't see them coming. Jessica's techniques became increasingly sophisticated. She developed different attack methods for different types of radar systems. Some she blinded completely, creating dead zones in enemy coverage. Others she fed false information, making aircraft appear to be somewhere else entirely. Her most advanced technique involved creating ghost signatures, false radar returns that made it appear as though large formations of aircraft were approaching from multiple directions simultaneously. Enemy air defense systems would scramble to respond to these phantom threats, while real aircraft approached from completely different vectors. But Jessica's greatest achievement was her ability to remain undetected. Enemy cybersecurity experts knew their systems were being compromised, but they couldn't identify the source of the attacks. The intrusions were too sophisticated and too precisely timed to be random hacker attempts. Intelligence agencies suspected state-sponsored cyber warfare, but they couldn't trace the attacks to any known location. Jessica's techniques were so advanced that she could route her intrusions through dozens of proxy servers and satellite relays, making her true location impossible to determine. Meanwhile, Jessica continued her daily routine as General Webb's secretary. She typed his correspondence, scheduled his meetings, and handled his phone calls with the same efficiency she had always demonstrated. Her work performance never suffered, and she never gave any indication of the incredible operations she was conducting every night. General Webb occasionally commented on Jessica's dedication to her work. She often stayed late to finish reports and came in early to prepare for important meetings. What he didn't realize was that Jessica's late nights and early mornings were cover for her cyber operations. When Jessica worked late at the office, she was actually using the military's satellite communication systems to conduct reconnaissance on enemy networks. When she came in early, she was monitoring the results of the previous night's operations and planning her next attacks. But Jessica's double life became more complicated when she was assigned to help coordinate Operation Desert Storm 2, a massive coalition air campaign against terrorist strongholds in 3 countries. The operation required unprecedented coordination between air forces from multiple nations. Hundreds of aircraft would be conducting simultaneous strikes across vast distances, and any failure in stealth technology could result in massive casualties. Jessica realized that her usual techniques wouldn't be sufficient for an operation of this scale. She needed to develop a way to blind entire air defense networks simultaneously while maintaining the ability to reactivate specific systems when friendly aircraft needed to navigate through contested airspace. She spent 3 months developing what she called the Ghost Protocol, a coordinated cyber attack that could disable radar systems across multiple countries while providing selective visibility for coalition aircraft. The Ghost Protocol required Jessica to infiltrate 17 different radar networks and coordinate their simultaneous compromise. Each system required different attack vectors and custom-designed malware. The timing had to be perfect because any delay could expose coalition aircraft to detection. On the night of Operation Desert Storm 2, Jessica initiated the Ghost Protocol from her hidden command center. For 6 hours, she conducted the most complex cyber warfare operation in military history. As coalition aircraft crossed into enemy airspace, radar operators across 3 countries watched their screens go dark one by one. Some systems showed false readings, others displayed error messages. A few simply shut down completely. From the enemy's perspective, it appeared as though their entire air defense network had suffered simultaneous equipment failures. Technicians rushed to repair systems that weren't actually broken. Backup radar units were activated only to fail in the same mysterious ways. Coalition aircraft completed their missions with 0 losses. Terrorist strongholds were destroyed, weapons caches were eliminated, and key infrastructure was neutralized. The operation was considered one of the most successful air campaigns in modern military history. But Jessica's greatest challenge came after the operation, when enemy intelligence agencies began a coordinated investigation into the radar failures. Chinese, Russian, and Iranian cyber warfare experts worked together to analyze the attacks. They discovered sophisticated malware that was unlike anything they had seen before. The code was so advanced that it appeared to be the work of an entire team of specialists rather than a single individual. The investigation eventually traced some of the attacks to satellite communications that had been routed through Peterson Air Force Base. This discovery led to increased security measures and closer monitoring of all personnel with access to communication systems. Jessica realized that her cover might be compromised. She began taking additional precautions, using different attack vectors and routing her operations through alternative communication channels. But the increased scrutiny made her work more dangerous. She had to develop new techniques for avoiding detection while continuing to conduct critical operations in support of ongoing military campaigns. Jessica's final operation occurred in March 2022 during a rescue mission to extract American hostages from a terrorist compound in Afghanistan. The compound was protected by mobile radar units that made traditional stealth approaches impossible. Intelligence indicated that the hostages would be moved to a different location within 48 hours, making immediate action necessary. But the radar coverage was too comprehensive to penetrate using conventional methods. Jessica developed a new technique called dynamic shadowing, a method of creating moving blind spots in radar coverage that could follow aircraft as they approached their targets. The technique required real-time manipulation of multiple radar systems while maintaining the appearance of normal operation. On the night of the rescue mission, Jessica guided 4 helicopters through a constantly shifting maze of radar coverage. She created blind spots that moved with the aircraft, allowing them to approach the compound undetected. The rescue was successful. All hostages were extracted without casualties, and the helicopters returned to friendly territory without being detected by enemy forces. But this mission marked the end of Jessica Carter's cyber warfare career. New security protocols at Peterson Air Force Base made continued operations too risky. The military decided to extract her from her cover position and assign her to a new role. Jessica's 4 years at Peterson Air Force Base officially ended with a commendation for exceptional administrative service. General Webb wrote a glowing recommendation letter praising her efficiency and dedication. He never learned that his secretary had conducted 127 successful cyber operations, disabled radar systems worth billions of dollars, and enabled military victories that saved thousands of coalition lives. Today, Jessica Carter works as a cybersecurity consultant for a private defense contractor in Virginia. Her official job involves protecting corporate networks from cyber attacks, but her real expertise remains classified. Jessica's apartment no longer contains a hidden command center. Her computer equipment has been replaced with ordinary consumer electronics. She lives a genuinely normal life for the first time in 8 years. But sometimes, late at night, Jessica monitors international news reports about mysterious radar failures in conflict zones around the world. She wonders if other cyber warfare specialists are continuing the work she pioneered. Jessica Carter proved that the most devastating weapons in modern warfare aren't nuclear missiles or stealth bombers. Sometimes the most effective tool is a person with a computer who understands that in the digital age, the ability to see and be seen can determine the outcome of entire conflicts. Her 4 years as a secretary at Peterson Air Force Base changed the fundamental nature of air warfare. Enemy air defense systems became unreliable when they needed to work most. Coalition aircraft gained the ability to appear and disappear from radar screens like ghosts. The 127 successful operations that Jessica conducted from her secretary's desk prevented an estimated 3,000 coalition casualties and enabled military victories that would have been impossible using conventional tactics. But perhaps most remarkably, Jessica accomplished all of this while maintaining perfect cover as an ordinary military secretary. She proved that in the age of cyber warfare, the most dangerous person in any conflict might be sitting in a cubicle, answering phones and typing emails. Jessica Carter's legacy lives on in the cyber warfare techniques she developed and the security protocols that were created to prevent similar operations. Her methods are still studied by military cyber specialists, though her true identity remains classified. In a world where battles are increasingly fought in cyberspace, Jessica Carter demonstrated that a single skilled individual can change the course of conflicts involving millions of people. She showed that in modern warfare, the most important battles aren't fought in the sky or on the ground. They're fought in the invisible networks that connect our digital world. And maybe that's the most important lesson of all. In an age where technology determines military outcomes, the person who controls the technology controls the war. Jessica Carter understood this better than anyone, and she used that understanding to protect the lives of countless soldiers who never knew her name.